Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of For What It's Nerd. Today, we are going to be discussing, or looking through rather, these Batman comics. As you guys know, I subscribe to a few different comic subscriptions, and one of them is the DC Comics Legends of Batman collection. So, as I've said numerous times, and I've been pretty honest and open about this, I am not or haven't been the biggest DC fan. But Batman is sort of my lens through which I can sort of get into DC, as I'm the most aware of Batman. I've played the Arkham games. I've, it's sort of my best lens for getting into DC. I've watched a few of the movies, not all of them. So that's it's one of those things where this is definitely one of those blind spots in my nerd culture, and I'm trying to get better at it. Of course, here. And it seems like we're getting such a renaissance for DC right now with the DCU, of course, and the new Lego Batman game that's going to be coming out. As well as and something that I actually really do want to read, the Absolute run of Batman, which they've just released the image for what Joker's going to look like in the Absolute universe, and he's pretty scary. Everyone's talking about it online, so if you're interested in seeing what that looks like, look up Absolute Joker. It's almost Lovecraftian. It's a little scary, and the Absolute idea there, they've gone for the sort of what I almost see it as what those characters look like on the inside. The kind of the horrors that they are beneath. So I'm going to get to it eventually, but I'm going to get through all these first to get a better lens for Batman before I start going into alternate universe Batman. What I want to say before I get into this, 'cause I think it's really important, and I think it's worth saying, even though it is not directly to do with me, and it's not something I feel I can comment much on, is the current situation in America. I think it's on everyone to kind of speak out against things that are wrong and things that are incorrect. And my viewpoint is, of course, the killing of Charlie Kirk is wrong. Regardless of whatever your belief is, killing someone shouldn't be how we proceed forward in society. Especially, funnily enough, here I've got a Batman comic sat in front of me that feels very Batman-esque. Even the baddest of the bad don't deserve to be killed for it. Well, there's maybe some exceptions to that rule when you go into the moral questions that are very, very there's no debate to be had. There are certain people like that in society, definitely. But in terms of people having free speech, even if they're wrong in my eyes, which I definitely believe Charlie Kirk was wrong about a number of things, pretty much most of what he said, but that was wrong, and it basically proves the idea that we can't debate out of or convince against his points, and as well, I think the opposite side of the debate is something we should be looking at as well. Jimmy Kimmel, of course, this week has been suspended from his show. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not something I've watched in droves, but I've always seen Jimmy Kimmel as, at least the parts that I've seen of him, as the more moderate of a lot of those. He seems a little bit more reserved than a lot of the late night hosts that I've seen prior, and I've seen clips of. I think what he said, whether right or wrong, falls on the opposite end of what we've just talked about, right? He said something because he had a platform, which is what I'm doing here, and he was stopped for it, not by the company because they thought it might in fact impact their profit margins. It was basically cascaded down because of fear of the government, and that's my concern. I mean, I'm a British citizen. I'm not an American citizen, obviously. So it's not really my fight in the most immediate sense. But I think everyone's got to fight against, oppression in that way, and I think everyone's got to say about it. There's been a lot of rhetoric the past week or so about whether Andor is the most accurate representation of what's going on currently. And if you remember in that, everyone thought they were safe, and Mon Mothma in her speech, which just won an Emmy, by the way, Genevieve O'Reilly got an award for it. That being that the monster that will come for us all in time is Emperor Palpatine, of course, in this instance. Not necessarily even Trump, I think. I think it's just the Make America Great Again, the MAGA movement is Palpatine in this instance. I don't even think it's necessarily just Trump. I think there's people much more calculating than Trump himself. And that's the concern. That's the worry. So I'm saying this because I care not just about people's free speech, but about what this could mean for entertainment and the entertainment industry. What else will be moderated as time goes on? What else will be stopped? Will you never see a show like Andor again? Will you never see someone be able to critique so openly the political situation? An example being people are currently calling Indiana Jones woke now because Indiana Jones says he to a cat in the Indiana Jones game, you know, is fundamentally about fighting Nazis and fascists. That's just so woke for him to say about a cat hating the fascists as much as he does. And it's almost like Indiana Jones has always been that way. So we're entering very murky waters. I think we've been in these murky waters since 2016, but it feels like we've reached a new depth, and it's scary. The UK has similar issues. I'm not going to go into them too much because I personally believe that, you know, this is a lot bigger currently. But the UK has similar issues. There's been a great uptick in English flags being put on roundabouts, and it's very peculiar. But essentially, it's meant to be a sign of like not wanting people who aren't British or English, or essentially people who aren't white in the country. And it's daunting. It's scary. So I'm sorry to have made that tangent. I think it's important to say, and I wanted to make it clear that is my stance. Usually I don't go into these things because I think my job is to entertain and discuss these types of, I think it's to discuss these books and like movies and yes, comment on those, the social lens that they portray potentially. But I generally try and leave the specifics out of my content because I think we have enough of that in all other forms of media. The thing is, there comes a point, in my opinion, where these things have to be said and these things have to be done. And I think I would feel improper, considering it is linked to the entertainment field in a degree, that I'd feel I'd done a disservice that I hadn't spoken about it. So that's my thought on that. And whether people like it or not, that's going to be my stance. So we're going to now do what we're actually here to do, which is discuss Batman comics and leave all that concern aside for a little bit. So let's look at the first one here, which is Black Mirror. Now, some of these are from a little bit ago. Some of these delivered today. That's what was so cool about this. I was like, what episode am I going to do today? I don't know what I really want to do. I was thinking about watching the Build the Galaxy Star Wars show, but it felt kind of in poor taste considering the Disney scenario right now. So this kind of fell right into my lap. And I think, obviously, to clarify what I mean by the Disney scenario, that meaning that Disney owns ABC, which was the Jimmy Kimmel station. So anyway, Black Mirror. So I'll read the blurb. They say that Gotham City is a dark mirror that reflects your worst fears back on you. For the Batman, that's never a good thing, especially if you're Dick Grayson, the original Robin, now stepping into the shoes of your mentor. A cruel new Gotham tests Batman as a mysterious figure called the Dealer is spreading a deadly venom around the city and creating monsters in his wake. At the same time, Commissioner Gordon faces his own dark reflection. His psychopathic son, James Jr., has returned. I didn't actually know this one was about Robin. well, Dick as Batman. That's going to be really cool to read. Its art looks really cool. That's a gorgeous panel. I'm actually not reading anything that's said in the. Oh, I love that. Look at that. All the blues and reds. Sorry, I love comics. If you could tell. Yeah, so that's going to be really cool to read. I didn't realize it was Dick taking on the whoa, the mantle. I like all the coloring in this. It's definitely got a lot of color. This is sort of the comic style I like, where it still looks somewhat realistic, or rather, somewhat. It's not overly caricatured, but it's like the colors gorgeous. I love, yeah, like that. So this is going to be a fun one, I think. Oh, that's a nice page. Look at that. It's a gorgeous page. So that's going to be a cool story to tell. I can tell that's going to be a cool story I can tell to read. That was a hard sentence to say. Yeah, so there's number 1 there. Some cool images here as well. Always love. Oh, that's just loads of blank pages. But yeah, definitely going to be looking into that one with intrigue. Faces of Death is our next one here. And this is, there are precious few safe havens in Gotham City for Batman. Branded an outlaw, the police department have been ordered to shoot him on sight, hampering his desperate hunt for a psychopathic criminal called the Dollmaker. The disappearance of the Joker is set to turn public opinion against the Dark Knight, whilst the Penguin is busy assembling a small army of supervillains. If he was in any doubt, Batman is about to be reminded that death has many faces. Of course, as always, we have the typical Batman and Joker standoff there. Obviously, Joker's going to be prominent in this one, clearly. That's a cool image there. This is a little bit more muted than the last one we looked at. I don't think the art's any worse, though. It's just, it's sort of going into that more grim side, clearly. That's the thing with Gotham, and that's why I think I like Gotham so much. Gotham can be an incredibly vibrant city with its flaws, and it can also be this incredibly morbid, dark, almost destitute city as well. That's a gorgeous image. That actually reminds me a little bit of the Batman movie, which actually, let's talk about that for a second. They're looking at doing Hush for that movie, I think, and as well as that, sounds like the script's very good, so I'm excited for that too. I really love the first movie. It stuck in my head for ages. So, oh wow, look at that. See, there's still color. This is what I like about it. So you've got the kind of grim, dark start of the book, but then you've got this really colorful Gotham at the same time. That's a gorgeous piece of art. But yeah, so very excited for the Batman 2. Clayface is, of course, coming out next year as well, it looks like. That's going to be interesting. And then, as well as that, we have some other news for Batman. I'm trying to remember what it is. I can't remember it now. So maybe I'm forgetting. I'm sure I have something else. There's something else I want to discuss, but we'll see if it comes to me as I'm going. I haven't read the blurb on this one. So this is Dark Victory Part 1 and Part 2. The Holiday Killer is out of jail, saved by the money and machinations of the Falcone crime family under a verdict of insanity. And now the killings start again, a series of murders of Gotham police. Left behind at the crimes are hangman puzzles with clues that seem to point to Harvey Dent, now calling him himself Two-Face. On the case is Commissioner James Gordon, increasingly obstructed by the new District Attorney Janice Porter, a woman who seems to loathe the methods of Batman. And while the Dark Knight attempts to stop the cop killer, he seems to have increasingly lost his own human face as he isolates himself from those around him. So this is obviously a little bit more. What I like is that this is a little bit more your typical comic style. Like not typical, more your older age comic book style. But the colors are a little bit more of your today style, if that makes sense. It's like that nice mix of the simplicity of the art of old comics with a bit more of a real color palette. But again, loads of green here, of course. Seems Riddler's quite big in this one. That looks cool as well. Obviously, these hangman puzzles. Batman looks quite hench there. That's maybe not my favorite drawing of Batman ever. He looks like the Michelin Man a little bit. There's a bit of Solomon Grundy, it looks like. Yeah. So what I also like about Batman books is you see a lot of the characters, Catwoman, of course, there as well. You see a lot of the characters show up. I think Gotham being so living and so breathing often has a lot of the criminals, the villains sort of interact, right? Joker and Penguin are sort of two sides of a similar coin. Something I say about Penguin. And it seems like a lot of the villains always kind of work off of each other in Gotham. And I think that's a really cool. It reminds me a little bit of like Spider-Man. I think Batman and Spider-Man probably have the most interesting rogues galleries out there. I'm not, again, I've said this numerous times, I'm not the biggest fan of Spider-Man, but I'm a very big fan of his rogues gallery. And I think Batman are actually both. I like Batman and his rogues, but yeah, very interesting. So this is part 2. I'm not going too deep into the story of the actual panels because I don't want to sit here and read the comic in front of you guys, basically. But yeah, so this is the continuation. I'm not going to read the blurb on this one because I don't want to spoil any more of the story that I might have learned in the first one, so to speak. But you have Freeze there. You have some obviously they're doing flashbacks and that kind of where is it? It was just there. I've lost it now, but it looks like they're doing flashbacks in a sort of grey style here, which is interesting for sure. This is obviously a little bit more caricatured this time around, as you can see by the teeth that are as big as the panel. I don't think it's bad though. Again, there's ways of doing it that sort of make it work. In this instance, really accentuating Jim's glasses, really accentuating Batman there. There's ways to make any kind of comic style work. Don't love that, personally. I like more that first style that I showed you guys myself, but, there's definitely still really cool art. I mean, that is a really nice art piece there, the kind of the green and then the ice. That is terrifying as well. A scarecrow, of course, behind. So this seems to be a real mix of all of the Bat people, the Batman Rogues Gallery. As you can see here, you've got Solomon, Joker, Two-Face, Freeze, Ivy. Lots of colors in this one as well, I will say. So that looks like a cool one to jump into eventually. And then we have Death of the Family, part 1 and 2. Again, I'll only read the blurb of the first. The Joker is back in Gotham, and this time his target is the entire Bat family, claiming he knows the identity of this volume. This part 2. I thought it was part 1. Claiming he knows the identities of Batman and his closest allies, he threatens to destroy everything the Dark Knight loves, but with what twisted purpose in mind? Nightwing, Dick Grayson, faces the slaughter of circus folk under his protection. Catwoman is about to learn there are many ways to skin a cat, and Alfred Pennyworth is abducted for a starring role in a very disturbing celebration. The Joker is revisiting some old crimes with a dark new purpose, and someone is going to die laughing. See this. This is my perfect mix, comic book style wise. That's like fairly good coloring. Well, very good coloring actually. I like the different the contrasting colors. Some really good paneling here. Joker not looking quite as silly. I like Joker to look intimidating, but also like an actual jester. It's much better when that's the case. Yeah. what I like again about Batman comics is you're getting introduced to a lot of characters straight away. So like here you have Catwoman, of course, you have Nightwing as well, and because you have those guys, you then have somewhat of a the shorthand for when they show up elsewhere as well. So obviously, if you have no idea of what Robin's like, you start getting into Titans. As soon as you get into Titans, then you've got an idea for the others. Of course, as well with Batman, you've got the inroads to the Justice League as well, which is some of the comics for this run are actually Justice League as well. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, this one looks a little bit more on the morbid side, but that's some really nice art here. This reminds me a little bit of the third Arkham game, Arkham Knight. It's got a little bit of that in it with the guy with turning Batman into a Joker-esque kind of scenario. Looks like it's got a little bit of that. Oh, who doesn't love the cape like that? That's probably one of the most iconic kind of Batman things ever. The cape kind of clouding around him and moving out into that. I've actually seen a video once. I think a lot of people have probably seen this. I think it went viral, but where someone had made the cape as they drew up in the very same way. It's a really cool, iconic shorthand. Again, very cool coloring here. Of course, they're kind of mocking the Justice League to a degree there. It's crazy seeing how here you've got a very different version of all three of those characters compared to the last time we saw them. But here we have some kind of Joker Batman. I don't know if it's actually Bruce or if it's someone else, but interesting panel there with all the Bat fam. Oh, that's a really cool image. Very startlingly bright, but it's a cool image. That one as well. Who doesn't love an Alfred panel? I love art, like a full page piece of art. I think it always denotes kind of like a really important piece of the like that. That's a really nice image as well. What I love about comics, like just in general, is that they paint a lens of what story is as much the art paints as much a lens for the story as the actual words, you know. And I think it doesn't take away from your imagination though as well, because it implies stuff, right? It implies, you know, for example, there the way that they've they hoist Batman up a lot, don't they? They put him on rooftops because he has to look down upon the city. And you can go into so much detail about this. He has to look down on the city. He has to be removed from the city to be able to protect the city. And so, like, seeing that kind of elevated, you know, view of him way down, looking at him, seeing what he has to do, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of iconography in art. It's really interesting if you think about it. This one is I Am Suicide. It's a suicide mission. The Dark Knight must travel to the fortress of his enemy Bane to spring the villain's psycho pirate so that his unique powers can be used to heal Gotham Girl. Batman does not plan to do this alone. By his side is Catwoman, an increasingly close ally. Also on his team is the ventriloquist, the vigilante Bronze Tiger, plus quirky duo Punch and Julie. With such a motley crew to command, can betrayal be far away? This sounds like a very interesting one. I really like this suit, I've got to be honest. I also like that kind of way of motion where they put them both in the same panel, where it's actually meant to show them moving out. I also really like the yellow outline on the bat symbol. I think they used a similar design for the Gotham Knights game, and I really liked it there. So Nice fight there between Batman and Catwoman. I think it's always interesting when Batman has to kind of deal more closely with villains to achieve a more ultimate goal. So that's going to be interesting. Oh, that's a really nice image. Who doesn't love a full spread image like that? That's really cool. Obviously, you guys are getting a little bit of light on it, so apologies for that, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do much about that, sadly. That's a nice one there as well. Oh, there's Amanda Waller. Of course, she would get her nose into the business of Batman on occasion. And again, learning a lot of different... Oh, I really like that image. That's a really cool image. Obviously, getting a lot into the kind of villains helps with the stuff like as soon as you get an idea of... I was going to say Angela, wrong name, Amanda. You get an idea. Again, look at that. Gorgeous view of Gotham there. It's sort of the blue tones. Some really nice images here of Batman and Catwoman. I forgot what I was saying, if I'm being completely honest, so we're just going to move on. This one is the resurrection of Ra's al Ghul. Oh yeah, so like again with the idea of Amanda Waller being able to have that as a sort of shorthand for when you see her show up in something like a Suicide Squad comic or something like that. Batman has a 10-year-old son with Talia al Ghul, daughter of the head of the League of Assassins. That's a lot of a mouthful. Daughter of the head of the League of Assassins. Damien, they could have just said Ra's al Ghul, the head of the League of Assassins, or something like that. Was a lot. Damien's existence was kept secret during his upbringing as a killer at the heart of the ruthless cult. But now, the ex-leader of the League, the infamous Ra's al Ghul, is on his way back from the dead and seeks a body to possess. White Ghost, Ra's al Ghul's faithful slave, has Damien's body at the top of his list, and Batman, Robin, and Nightwing will stand in the way of a terrible crime. Instantly great art. Like, look at that. I love the kind of mysticism side that Batman somehow ends up in on occasion. And Ra's is a really interesting character in that way. And I also like that it take the League of Assassins makes Batman have to leave Gotham sometimes. I think Batman outside of Gotham is always an interesting idea. Yeah, definitely. So some really cool Damien art there. And a great piece of Batman art there. Sort of a gargoyle. Essentially, you know, one creature of the night atop another in a very interesting show there. Again, some other characters showing up. Robin versus Robin. Some Nightwing there, of course, as well. We've got some other characters there as well. Assuming that's Ra's coming back from the dead there. I'm going to check. Yeah, so that's Ra's there. Looking a little worse for wear, in all honesty. And yeah, so that is my most recent. There was a few more, but I didn't want to go too long. So that is my most recent set of Batman comics. Very excited in these. Very excited for the Batman Lego game, as I said. I'm also tempted to maybe do a run of the Arkham games again at some point on my other channel, alongside the new Lego Batman game. So that's potentially something we'll do. And of course, the Batman and Clayface movies are well underway. and we'll be seeing those at some point soon as well. So, well, probably next year, but still, excited to see those as well. So we will we'll leave it there for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've definitely enjoyed this, and yeah, we shall see each other soon, I'm sure, for more. Next week we will be discussing Marvel Zombies. That comes out on the 24th, and yeah, we'll be deep diving into that, which is funny because we actually just released an episode of me and a few others playing the Marvel Zombies board game. So if you guys want to watch that, that is on the channel currently. Go and have a look at that when you can. Thanks, guys. I shall see you guys later. Bye.